What's up, guys? Welcome to our first edition of the Pumpkin Report. As I've explained in prior videos, I believe that the playoffs are when the clock strikes midnight and the magic that is scheme and great coaching fades, turning all these quarterbacks that people thought were carriages back into pumpkin. In the divisional round, we had a couple of them, but I think that the most high-profile one has to be Dak Prescott. The internet is constantly ablaze with debates between film Twitter, analytics Twitter, and fans about what exactly the fuck Dak Prescott is. And I've always held that he's something right in the exact middle of everything that they all say. He is just the epitome of the expectation level quarterback. He's right in the middle, and having charted all of his plays over the last 3 seasons, as well as several other quarterbacks, it's remarkable how consistently he ends up being almost exactly average. That being said, in this particular game, Dak devolved completely. He's got a great offensive line. I think everybody believes Kellen Moore is a really good, if not great, offensive coordinator, and his wide receivers aren't what they were last year, but CeeDee Lamb is still really good, and Michael Gallup still can start, and T.Y. Hilton's really effective out of the slot. He's also got a good tight end in Dalton Schultz, and the combination of Pollard and Zeke is a good backfield. Now, Zeke kind of sucks now, a lot, but Pollard's good, and even when he's hurt, Zeke isn't like a terrible backup running back. He's at least very reliable in the passing game, or at least typically is, not in this game. This all being said, Dak turned in a stinker, and we got to pick apart why, because an average Dak game probably wins the Cowboys this competition against the 49ers and has them playing their rival Eagles in the NFC Championship, which would at the very least be really exciting. Before we dig into the tape and try to figure out what the fuck went wrong, let me just explain quickly how I grade quarterback play. If you don't really care, or this isn't your first rodeo, skip ahead like 2 minutes. 6 buckets. We got the elite throws. These are downfield bombs on a dime, Josh Allen type stuff. It's the kind of stuff that very few quarterbacks can do and almost no one can do consistently. A great throw is, a very deep ball that's catchable but maybe not perfectly placed, or it's like a perfect second level throw, like 18 to 25 yards downfield. All of these are subjective, so the yards I'm giving you are just guidelines. Everything is malleable, everything is context based and totally subjective. So somebody in a different video said, "This is all just speculation." And I said, yeah, that's what scouting literally means. A solid throw is a positive throw that's not that difficult to make. It typically manifests itself in like 8 to 12 yard throws down the field past the line of scrimmage, or they can just be accurate throws on coverage busts, right? If a wide receiver runs a streak and the cornerback falls down, a throw that's accurate and gets to that receiver and lets him just take advantage of the coverage bust, that's good, right? You got to give him credit for reading the play out and being accurate, even if it's not a perfect ball. Bad throws are ones that are just inaccurate, or if they get batted. If a ball should be caught by a good starting defensive back, that's a pickable. Pickables don't always get picked. They're interceptable. That doesn't mean they're intercepted. And not all interceptions are always interceptable. Sometimes it's just bad luck, a deflection, a dropped ball, whatever. Most throws, almost every throw from almost every quarterback is going to be a pedestrian or routine throw. These are the things you expect your quarterback to hit, even if it's a backup. Checkdowns, quick hits, RPOs are typically pedestrian. I also grade the things that aren't just throws. The most prevalent one is going to be a positive pocket movement. This is any time that a quarterback extends the play or changes the launch angle to benefit the offense. Running around for no reason isn't positive, but in cases where it's actually helpful, you get a plus move. I also break sacks into ones that are the quarterback's fault and ones that aren't. I grade throwaways separately from all the above throws and then I break runs into positive, neutral, and negative. Neutral runs are about as effective as a check down. Positive runs are probably about 10 yards or more, and I give bonuses the further they are downfield. And then a negative run is anything that hurts the team. It's fumbles, really easy. Did the quarterback fumble? I don't care who recovers it. If they fumbled, it's a fumble. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get right to the film. This first play is actually a great example of why I don't use all 22 on every play, because if I did, I would have to explain every ounce of every play to everybody, because this play is going to look like a missed read on the all 22, but on the broadcast angle, it looks right. Here, Dak Prescott's going to roll out of the pocket plus movement and then just make a bad throw that's easily batted away. Now, if I were to show you the all 22, Dalton Schultz is going to get wide open on an over route right here. So he's going to bend around into this void and be wide open. And he's open right here. Dak is not being pressured. It's in the middle of the field. He could hit him, right? Like, he's open. But you could do this on every play. You could also say, oh, Zeke's open. But at this point, Dak's already running left. And you might say, oh, why is he running left? There's leverage to the outside. Well, because the play was designed to go over here on a quick out to CeeDee Lamb right away, in rhythm. It didn't end up working. It was a bad throw. And Dak did a good job to extend the play. Sure, a genius-level quarterback will see the tight end over the middle. But tell me at what point... So he's got to be looking left here, right? His job is to look left right here. The ball's supposed to really come out like right now. So at this point, he realizes it's too late, and he's missed his window. The tight end is open. But now he would have to start looking at the tight end, and by the time he did that, he'd be sacked. He's not going to look to the tight end while he's rolling left. That's a Josh Allen hopeful throw. So if I showed you the all-22 on every play, I'd have to explain why other dudes that look open aren't actually really open every play. It also would just take so much longer. Instead, I'll stick with the regular copy, and it's pretty simple. It's a bad play. A little bit of running on 1st and 20. Who doesn't like a short run? 6 yards is actually pretty good, but still, I'm not running on 1st and 20. Here, Dak does a really good job of getting this ball out here. I mean, you can see on this play, Dak doesn't have a ton of arm strength. This is a 14-yard ball, and it's dying like it got shot. But it gets there in time, good placement on the sideline, takes advantage of a soft zone. That's a good throw, solid throw. More early down running. I don't love to see it. Fred Warner is a beast. Here, Dak does a good job of navigating the play, getting through all of his progressions, finding the right receiver a little late, but finding him, and making a good throw from a muddy, not pressured pocket. It's a routine throw with a plus pocket move, and then here, this is a good move. This is a really good job to step up, and it's tough to make this throw while you're, look at his body, right? He's supposed to be sideways with his arm coming through, and instead he's kind of diagonal with his arm coming through. That's tough. That's what makes Patrick Mahomes great. This ball here, this ball should be low to the tight end because Warner is over the top of him. But if he's going to gun it, this linebacker is going to have a chance to knock it down. So I understand. It's a bad throw, but it's a plus movement, and it's not like he had a ton to work with on that particular play. Dak looked pretty good on the first drive, but just a couple misses hamstrung them. Not bad, not great, just pretty average, and that's going to be a common theme with Dak most of the time. On drive 2, the Cowboys come out, and they run the ball twice to start off, right? We hate when Byron Leftwich does this, and we don't like it any better just because Kellen Moore's a better play caller. Now you got Dak backed up in 3rd and 9, and you've got a complex coverage because it's 3rd and 9. The 49ers can do anything. That being said, it's a bad situation, I understand. I have sympathy for Dak. This ball is not only late, but also high, and also lofted. This ball needs, I'll show you, if this ball is going to be completed, it needs to be thrown about here. It needs to be out of his hands already. Instead, he's super late, the ball's super slow. You couldn't have cooked up an interception any easier. That's a pickable. And when you're going to play mostly average, routine, dink and dunk football, trying to stay ahead of the chains, you can never do this. Drive 3, Cowboys are going to come out and try to get Dak in rhythm with some easy throws, right? Pedestrian little throw there, little routine throw there. Just expectations, stay ahead of the change, take advantage of cushions in the zone. Avoid asking Dak to do anything too difficult. Just get him in rhythm, get him warmed up, basically. A good run game helps. It doesn't help enough here. 3rd and 2. This is a good play by Dak, and let me explain to you why. It looks like a simple throw, and it kind of is. But right here, the play as called on the play sheet is to throw the slant right here to this receiver. If he does that, it's a pick, because Dre Greenlaw is right here to catch that ball. Instead, Dak holds a second. He waits a moment. This makes Fred Warner bite down, so he's no longer in the throwing lane because he's going to go after Dak. It also gives the receiver a little bit of time to creep past Greenlaw, whose momentum is carrying him away from the play. See, Greenlaw has that one step to the left because he's already running that direction. Meanwhile, the receiver sneaks behind him. I think that's Noah Brown. Then Dak changes his arm angle to get the ball into a proper throwing lane and make a really good throw. So that's a solid throw, even though it looks pretty easy. And it's also a plus pocket maneuver because His mobility and patience is what set Fred Warner up to get out of the throwing lane and what allowed Noah Brown to sneak behind the linebacker. Here, Dak does a really good job just to get the ball out. That's a plus movement and a routine pass. It's not a difficult pass, but good job to avoid the sack. Because look at Huafunga. You hate to hair scout. You hate to helmet scout. You really hate to hair scout. But tell me he doesn't look like Troy Polamalu crashing in here, timing up the snap so perfectly from the box, perfect safety blitz. Just fun to see. Huafunga is one of the headiest dudes in the NFL right now. Here, more staying in rhythm, staying on time by Dak. Routine throw, get it out. Routine throw, get it out. They're really building something here, doing this, these routine plays that Dak is good at staying ahead on. And then here, let's appreciate CeeDee Lamb. Grown man move, stiff arm, spin at the same time, mashing all the buttons on Madden, getting the right result. Should have been a tackle for a loss. Huafunga times it perfectly again, comes crashing in. He's a hard-hitting safety, and CeeDee Lamb says, "Ha, nope." And here, this is something I wish I'd see a lot more from Dak. He was a really, really good runner at Mississippi State, and he probably still could be. He just doesn't do it. That's a positive run. That's as good as a 10-yard throw. And then here, that positive run sets them up to run the Travis Kelce special. Check out Dalton Schultz. He's blocking, right? He's blocking. Oh, he got beat. Oh, no. 75 is going to try to get upfield immediately. Ha ha ha, Dalton Schultz is going to sneak out the back. He's actually a receiver, and now he's got a touchdown. The Chiefs do that with Travis Kelce at least once per red zone trip, and it's shockingly effective. Good job by Dak. This drive is what the Cowboys envision every drive looking like if Dak plays well. A lot of average, not a lot of special, but avoiding the bad and just staying in rhythm on time ahead of the chains. It's a very Joe Lombardi-esque offense, and Brett Maher needs to move, because clearly his house is built on an Indian burial ground, and he is cursed. The Cowboys get the ball before half, 3 minutes to go, 3 timeouts, ton of time, and if they play their cards right, they could walk out of this first half with a lead somehow. Dak does a good job of getting the ball out before pressure arrives, routine little check down, and Dre Greenlaw gives him an extra 15. Fortunate for almost called them the Bucks, fortunate for the boys. Why they're handing it to Zeke, I don't really know. It's got to be clock management, but dude, Zeke is bad. Stop using Zeke. Here, this is just a bad throw. Like, it's catchable, but dude, come on. Keep that ball down. You'll see this problem actually arise a couple times when Dak is throwing to running backs in this game. He doesn't have the arm strength to put a line drive out there, and it messes up the play. I'll give him a routine pass for both of these, but know that the first one, I'm being generous, and it probably should be bad. That being said, we're at 4th and 4, and here's those wheels. Really good job of being patient in the pocket, waiting for a gap to avail itself, and shooting through it for a positive run. Really good job. I love Dak the runner. Another routine throw, and would you look at that? We're at under 2 minutes. We're at about a minute and a half, and you're in the red zone. Just be safe, right? And there it is. This is a terrible pick. It should have been picked twice, and I'll show you the all-22 on it. But basically, Dak fucked up everything. He should have looked right to begin with, and he does, and he has the guy he wants. Instead, he looks to the left and sees his favorite receiver covered, but it's his favorite receiver, and he makes up his mind. It doesn't matter. He never looks left. Pick. I'll show you the all-22 and explain exactly what the hell went wrong. This play is going to develop really quickly, so let's break it down before it gets moving. We could tell that the 49ers are probably going to be running zone because it's a base nickel alignment. That means we got 4 down linemen with a wide 9, which means this defensive end here is split out almost in the slot. We got 2 split linebackers, 2 split safeties, and 3 defensive backs. Or 3 cornerbacks, rather. The cornerback at the top of the screen is going to be walked off in a little bit of a more cushiony coverage, and then down low on the trip side, we've got closer coverage, but not close. We can tell it's not going to be man because these linebackers aren't walking out to align over the slot receivers being CeeDee Lamb here and Ezekiel Elliott there. Now, the Cowboys are going to run a symmetrical route pattern where the slot receivers, the true slot receivers, so Hendershot here, or Schultz here, and Ezekiel Elliott there, are going to run kind of flats, and then the outside wide receivers are just going to get upfield trying to take these corners out of the play. It's basically going to be a flood to these short zones, and the ball should be getting out really quickly to one of those flats. CeeDee Lamb is going to run a curl to the sticks in the middle of the field as a safety valve, but that's not really viable because the vulnerabilities of this cover 2 defense that the 49ers seem to be running are the deep middle, which isn't viable on this play, and then floods to the short zones here, these flat defenders. It's called a flood because you have 2 receivers going to the same zone. Now let's let the play run, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So as the play develops, you can already see Zeke's first read is going to be to his right. That's perfectly fine. There's really no difference between the left and the right in this play, other than the right is closer, so it's an easier throw. Ezekiel Elliott's wide open. Right? Remember I said that the vulnerability is the flat zone being flooded? Well, that's what's happening because this outside receiver, I believe that that's Gallup, is not yet, he hasn't crossed this threshold, so this corner doesn't have to carry him deep just yet, which means that this defender isn't flying over to the sideline to cover Zeke yet, right? They can't match because they don't know what's going to happen here with Gallup. That means you throw the ball to Zeke, and he can basically walk to a first down with a yard after the catch. For whatever reason, Dak doesn't like it, and he starts to eventually turn his head and look to the middle at CeeDee Lamb. I think that's a poor read. I think it's very fair to tell him to throw this ball to Ezekiel Elliott here on third down to get right up to the sticks. So even if Zeke falls as soon as he catches it, it's going to be fourth and a couple inches. You quarterback sneak that every time. So Dak waits too long. Zeke is now covered. He's run up into this curl defender. And Gallup has crossed over and is now going to be covered by the safety. Same with T.Y. Hilton here. That being said, Dak has reset and is looking at CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is completely covered. You cannot throw that ball. Fred Warner is on his back, and Fred Warner has very long arms. If you throw this ball to CeeDee Lamb, there is no place on earth where CeeDee can catch it and Fred Warner can't get a hand on it. Meanwhile, if Dak were to just continue surveying the field, because he knows the right side is gone, right? If it wasn't gone, he probably would have thrown it there earlier. I think you could, if you were Josh Allen or something, or maybe Mahomes, like throw the ball here to Gallup. You could get it into that tight window, but you have to have a ton of zip to beat this guy from breaking up your throwing lane, and it would have to be very accurate or else it's going to get picked. There's an easier solution, though. You already know the right side of the field's not going to work, and now you're seeing the middle won't work. You've got a clean pocket. Look left. Dalton Schultz is a long throw in that it's very far across the field. It's probably like 30 yards across the field. But it's wide open past the sticks. Sit him down, throw the ball right here, let him move to the ball, catch it, and get creamed by 38. I think that's Lenore, but I don't know. This is viable. He should have thrown it to Zeke right away. If he's not going to throw it to Zeke right away, he's got to throw that to Schultz right there. Instead, he tries to make something work with CeeDee Lamb, and it never was going to work. There was no reason to think it would work, and right here you can see the ball's in Jimmy Ward's hands. Jimmy Ward fucks up, Fred Warner does not. That's how a pick happens, and when you run a conservative, timing, rhythm-based offense that works by getting expectation-caliber plays completed at a high rate, you can't take risks like that. You can't make catastrophic mistakes like that, especially in the red zone, because that play right there is probably the difference in the game. So we're at halftime, and this is what Dak's chart looks like so far. It's frustrating because he's overwhelmingly, the majority of his plays have been fine. They've been typical Dak stuff. A little bit of good, mostly really routine and expected. The problem is, if you're going to run an offense for Dak, you can't be calling downfield shots. It's just not the kind of guy he is, right? He's not going to be slinging it all over the field. He's not going to be throwing to the second level a ton. Dak's strong suit, or rather the way to play to Dak's skill set, is to throw these expectation level passes, these dinks and dunks and screens and checkdowns and slants, because he processes fairly well, and you just want to keep things simple and on time, in rhythm. Joe Lombardi for the Chargers runs a wildly conservative offense, but it's the kind of offense that Dak would operate well. The problem is when you have catastrophic plays like pickables, like fumbles, anything turnover worthy, or even bad sacks, you can't recover from that because you don't have that explosive element. And no matter what Dak does, that's just not the guy he is. In the second half, let's see if Dak can turn things around and clean things up. Unfortunately, the answer we all know is it doesn't look like he did. Cowboys are going to start the second half with more running. And at this point, it's the Zeke show because Pollard's done. And to run the ball with Zeke at this point in his career is just sad. Here, Dak does a really good job of reading the pocket, understanding he's got a ton of room to his right, and rolling out, getting a neutral pickup. It's a fine run. It's about as effective as a check down. But again, using those legs is so helpful. Here, a little screen to CeeDee Lamb. Routine. Don't think I have to tell you guys that. But routine plays can be very productive. They're not high performance, but they're productive. Here, this is actually it doesn't gain as many yards. It's a better play. Right? He waits just long enough, avoids the pressure by getting the ball out just in time, and he dumps it off for a routine throw. Plus movement, routine throw. Good stuff. I'm not really going to grade the option because it's not very relevant to me. And here, Dak misses another throw. This is actually the exact same play as the one that I broke down earlier that he threw an interception on in the red zone. Right? It's 3rd and 5, which is a little longer than the 3rd and 2 last time. But again, they're playing a zone defense. CeeDee Lamb's running the curl in the middle. The outside receivers are running kind of decoy routes to get the zone vacated, basically. So 7 would be in the flat if it weren't for this receiver down here taking up his time and kind of running a pick screen on this linebacker. This ball, if he's going to go to the right, I would rather it go to the left just because clearly it's upfield a little bit more. But if it's going to go to the right, it needs to be on a line drive, real quick, ton of zip, down where my mouse is, so you turn Zeke around as he catches the ball at titty height. Instead, the ball's up like he's throwing a jump ball. That's a bad ball. And if he throws it in time, it's Zeke versus Greenlaw with green grass in between them and just enough time to maybe get a first down, if not a 4th and short. But I think this is the 3rd time so far it's the 2nd time we've seen Dak fuck up this exact same play. And you'll see that this play shows us exactly what Dak should have done on the one he threw a pick on. But it's the 2nd or 3rd time already we've seen Dak fuck up a throw to a running back because he just puts way too much air on it. This is where arm strength and zip can really matter, right? It's not a deep throw. Everybody can throw the ball that far. It's just how quickly can you do it, and can you allow your receiver an opportunity to get yards after the catch after you throw that ball. That being said, a fumble right here is going to bail the Cowboys out, and instead of Dak having thrown a bad pass, it's in effect like he just threw a 60-yard bomb. At the bottom of that chaos is going to be a Cowboy with the football, so we're going to keep it going. The Cowboys really want to get CeeDee Lamb involved. They had a hard time getting him involved last week, and he hasn't really been that involved this week. So, handoff, just get the ball in his hands. And here, a screen. Again, get the ball in his hands. He does well with the ball in his hands. We've seen him break tackles already in this game. He's not particularly fast, but he's really effective with the ball in his hands. Here, I know that we've talked about how Zeke is bad, and I know that we've talked about how Dak is having a really hard time throwing to running backs lately, but dude, watch Zeke. Throw him this ball. Just throw him this ball. Who's going to get him? There's 2 dudes. There's 2 dudes on the outside. And then there's, look at that. There's 2 receivers that can block. He can have a convoy to the end zone. If he throws this ball to Zeke right here, I'm betting you that's a touchdown. But instead, he goes for the safe option. It's first down. It's not bad. This is a routine pass. We can second guess all we want. But we got a grade based on what he does. And he chose a routine pass that gets them 3 yards downfield. That's fine. Zeke can't do shit. Him and Leonard Fournette are one and the same at this point as runners between the tackles, and that they're both overweight and not very good anymore. Maybe if they got in shape, things would be different, but if I was 6'4", I would be playing professional hockey instead of making these videos for you. Here, Dak does everything right. He avoids the pressure in the pocket. Nobody's really open downfield, and he hits Zeke in the hands, and Zeke just doesn't catch. Remember when I said that Zeke used to be a really reliable player in the pass game? That's no more. But hey, it looks like Maher's only cursed when it comes to extra points, because he made that one. All right, it's a tie game again, and this drive is going to open up on a play that's tough to grade, but really fun. Line of scrimmage is the 9. Release point is the 2-yard line. How do you grade this? All right, so the ball goes from the 2 to the 53. It's a 51-yard throw in the air, right? That makes it about a 43-yard throw downfield past the line of scrimmage. That being said, actually, they're going to show us a replay here in a moment. Look at just how badly Dak underthrows this. So right here, I mean, CD is completely open. By NFL standards, that's wide open. This ball should go like an accurate ball. If you could, if you have God throwing the ball, it's a 60-yard pass. It should go to about the opposite 40, and instead it lands at about the 46. So it's underthrown by like 10 yards, but it was still catchable, and this is a possession receiver we're talking about. So let's see how difficult it was at the catch point. It should have been really easy, and it could have been a touchdown, but CeeDee Lamb has to slow up and let the cornerback literally hit him. CeeDee has incredible body control and makes the catch. You could go good, you could go great. I'm going to be generous. I've been harsh on Dak, and people love Dak, so I'll give that last throw a great grade. It was far enough downfield, and it was catchable to a possession receiver. Here, dude, Dak puts that on a dime. Look at that. I hope that the resolution's good enough. This is supposed to be 1080p, but look at that. It's a great throw. No, it's a good throw. It's a good throw, not a great throw. It's a good throw with plus pocket movement, and Schultz just drops it. It's bad play. Good job by Dak. Certainly not his fault. This drive, he's put together 2 really positive plays in a row. And one of them he got kind of bailed out on, and one of them he got kind of screwed on. And in this one, uh-oh. This play is going to take a little bit more breaking down. So I want you guys real quick to check out this formation. It looks like cover 1 man, right? You've got one single high safety. You've got cornerbacks lined up on all the receivers. And even out here, you've got CeeDee Lamb walking into the slot and a safety with him. Then down here, you've got linebackers walk down. So you've got 5 men on the line of scrimmage. These 2 dudes are linebackers. And your defensive ends are out real wide. So it looks kind of like it's just going to be a blitz. Now, first order thinking, which is like the person who's competent but not brilliant. The person who's competent but not brilliant is going to look at this and say, okay, they're blitzing from the left. I'll slide my protection left. And then I got man everywhere else. I'll go deep to this wide receiver right here in the slot to the left, T.Y. Hilton. Second order thinking is, if they're showing me this blitz, and this team is a team that loves to back out of things. They love simulated pressures. DeMeco Ryans is very smart. He never comes with just the standard, I'm going to show you my cards and then play them, right? He likes to walk dudes up like this and then drop them out into coverage. So the second order thinking is, the blitz certainly isn't coming from here, or at least both of them aren't coming from here. I'll spread my protection and just have a deep conservative drop because I'm not sure what's going to happen. But even still, the read is probably to go to T.Y. Hilton. Now, the genius level play is to know that this, and I don't know if anybody does this, the genius level play is to know both of these linebackers are dropping into coverage, and this safety over here is actually the blitzer. And because he's the blitzer, you should look at throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb, replacing the blitzer with a throw about 10 yards downfield. This is 3rd and 5 after all. As we watch the play develop, you'll see that the genius level is right, but it's also wrong at the same time. If you're going to throw this ball to CeeDee Lamb, Fred Warner is going to run from across the formation, which is super hard to do for a safety, much less a linebacker. But if you're going to throw to CeeDee Lamb, you got to throw it now. You got to gun it right about here, 10 yards downfield, and CeeDee Lamb's going to have to split these defenders to make this catch right here. And it's a tough throw, and it needs a lot of velocity. About right here, you have to know that your window to throw to CeeDee Lamb is basically closed. because Fred Warner has already gotten depth on him. CeeDee Lamb's route is bending inside, and Warner has inside leverage. At this point, Dak is letting go of the ball, and it's over. CeeDee Lamb has lost this route. I mean, not lost, but he's not going to cook the linebacker like you might think. Meanwhile, T.Y. Hilton is wide open. The problem is, CeeDee Lamb totally still could have caught this ball if Dak had thrown it properly. Let's go watch the tight copy. I think that'll actually be even more helpful. So again, we're seeing what Dak's seeing, right? You got these two linebackers standing up right here, looking like they're going to blitz. And 31 is standing over here nonchalant. Now, this morning on ESPN, Dan Orlovsky did a breakdown of this play saying, oh, Dak should have totally slid the protection over here knowing that this guy was blitzing. I think that's kind of crazy. It's very reasonable to do exactly what Dak did right here. I do not blame Dak for this at all. In fact, Dak does a pretty good job of realizing, oh, there's a blitzer. I'll immediately look to the guy he was supposed to be covering. He looks to CeeDee Lamb. There's his eyes looking at CeeDee Lamb. The problem is Fred Warner is a beast, and the ball is not thrown well. Now, you can see CeeDee Lamb has over-the-top leverage, which means if the ball is closer to us, if the ball is closer to the end zone, thrown more deep, CeeDee Lamb can run under it and make a play on the ball. Instead, Dak throws the ball basically exactly where Fred Warner is. Fred Warner is inside, which means between the two, between the quarterback and the wide receiver. And he's also, he's got underneath leverage, that's in between the wide receiver and the quarterback. And he's also inside, which means he's between the wide receiver and the middle of the field. Now, if I can time it just right, so here you can kind of see if Fred Warner can't see the ball, you can see his head. He can't locate the ball. If he had located the ball, he's in perfect position to make an interception. He still bats it a little bit, and it's still out of CeeDee Lamb's catch radius, right? Like, he gets a hand on it, but he is falling down as he does it. Right there, if Fred Warner's looking at the ball instead of looking back towards Dak confused, his hands are right there. That's a catch. That's a pick. If you want to call it bad, call it bad. If you want to call it pickable, call it pickable. I think that either is fair. I think pickable is probably a little harsh considering it's tough to even expect a linebacker to be in that position. But given the fact that it's Fred Warner, you know he's special, and given the fact that when the ball was released, Fred Warner was in phase. He was in position to make a play on the ball. I don't think it's out of the realm of conceivability that that's a pickable ball. 1, 2. Cowboys are going to come out. They're only down a touchdown, mind you, and it's the beginning of the fourth quarter. They're going to come out throwing more screens, a lot of pedestrian plays, a lot of cheap plays. Cheap plays don't necessarily mean that, the quarterback's not good. They just mean that the quarterback's not being asked to do much. This is all expectation level shit right here. Here, a little play action, good throw to CeeDee Lamb. It's late, it's soft, his arm strength is not impressive, but it's on time and it's accurate. And that's all you have to do. Now here is where I think that Dak excels. I think that honestly, so right now, the way he plays, his processing is probably his best asset. But I think that his best asset could be his legs, because the average quarterback is sacked right here for an 8-9 yard loss. Dak breaks out of it. Now, unfortunately, his reaction is to run and slide. I wish his reaction would have been break out of it and bolt to the edge, get outside, like a runner. Instead, he's thinking like a quarterback, and he just wants to get down for the best loss he can get. So, it's a positive play in the pocket to avoid the sack. This is crazy. Again, Huafunga just timing up blitzes, just knows the snap count. And it's a no-fault sack, like Dak had no shot on that. I'm not going to punish him for breaking the first tackle. It's a really good play to break the tackle, and it's not his fault he got sacked. That's a routine throw. Here on 3rd and 8, he's got lots of underneath stuff, and he just misses it. Like, he shouldn't be throwing this ball to CeeDee Lamb in the first place because he's not deep enough. But if you're going to throw it to him in stride. It's behind him. It's a bad pass. And that'll end your drive. Now let's see if Maher hits it. The curse only works for extra points. 1, 2. It's deja vu all over again because just like at the end of the first half, the Cowboys have 3 minutes and 3 timeouts to go downfield and score. And on the first play, Dak tries to end the game. That's pick 6. He's late on a short curl versus zone. You can tell because all these defenders are lined up in a line, it's almost certainly going to be a zone defense. Right here, you've got a curl. Your tight end has already stopped moving, has already completely stopped his motion when you're just getting ready to let go of the ball. You're late. You have to get this ball out right away to pass this against zone. Instead, he's late. Should have got picked by the linebacker. It should be 6 points for the 49ers. Terrible job. And if he does that, this game's over. Here, on Michael Gallup, this play is rough. I'll show you the all-22 in a moment. Yeah, it's bad, but it's worse when you see the actual all-22 because he underthrows it again. It's outside when it should have been inside, and it's not deep enough. Gallup has to stop. And then finally, this sack is going to be Dak's fault. You can't tell from the broadcast angle at all. I'll show you on the all-22 in a moment. It'll make more sense. 1, 2. All right, we're going to go all-22 for the last drive because first, I kind of want to show you guys how long this video would be if I did all-22 every play. And second of all, this play needs all-22. Dak rolls out of the pocket. Should he have? I don't think so. They're just trying to work the ball methodically down the field to start with. The play is supposed to go to the tight end Schultz because he's breaking out. Now, it's a designed rollout, so Dak is correct to roll right, and this half of the field doesn't exist. It's not viable. This ball is supposed to go to Schultz. As soon as he hits the top of this out and he cuts right here, you're supposed to throw it. Have a little anticipation, get it out here. Now, I know what you're thinking. There's a defender sitting on him. Fine. Now throw it, because the defender is backed up on his heels and you have a clean throwing lane. Get the ball here, he'll catch it and run out of bounds, and if he doesn't, it's incomplete and you live again. You live to fight another day. Instead, Dak is late and late and late. And right here, he could still gun it if he had great arm strength. If he was Josh Allen, I'd say gun it down here to T.Y. Hilton, or maybe that's Turpin. I don't know who the hell it is, but it ain't CeeDee Lamb. Gun it to this dude, right about here where my mouse is. 35 yards downfield. But Dak doesn't have that kind of arm. So I understand why he wouldn't do it. Again, you could throw the ball to CeeDee, but it would take a rope. And Dak doesn't have that kind of arm strength. The ball is still in his hand, and it shouldn't be. And at this point, he's run out of room for Schultz. He can't lead him anymore. You should really just throw this ball away and say, I fucked up, and move on. Instead, he panics and pulls the ball down. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, thinking he's going to juke out or truck a defensive tackle who's he's running directly into. And I guess it tricked Eric Armstead because he was very confused. It ends up being a bad throw, but this is a safety. You'll see here, it's inexplicable that Eric Armstead didn't tackle him in the end zone and end the game. I'm going to grade this like a safety because 9 times out of 10, it's a safety. He bumped into him like, oh, sorry. He put his hands out to break the fall. I don't know. It's bad. I'm going to grade it like a safety because it should have been a safety and it should have been the end of the game. Instead, Dak gets reprieve, and he can try again. Routine throw. Soft cushion, real simple. Nothing to it. Basically the exact same play, except I think Schultz goes out of bounds backwards, which does not stop the clock. That's really stupid. And here, I mean, it's a bad throw, but Dak gets screwed. Watch the progression. I mean, obviously, this is a long developing play. They're running 4 verts of some sort. Nobody's really open, right? Like, if you're Josh Allen, again, you can hit this pot shot, but Dak doesn't have the arm strength to throw a 30-yard pot shot. You know, it would have to be a frozen rope on a line over this guy's head and into the hands. It'd have to be perfect, and he doesn't have that in his tool bag. He could also throw the back shoulder here, but you're running out of time. Instead, he rolls out, and then he tries a pot shot of an even higher degree of difficulty, and he doesn't have it. He hooks it out of bounds. Nobody's catching that. Not his fault, but it's one of those plays where you wish that he had a little bit more juice because he could have done something. Second down, plenty of time, really simple. He really loves that out to Schultz. It's like the only thing that he's comfortable with on this drive. And then here's the final play. I actually figured out what it was supposed to be. So you got T.Y. Hilton right here, fast dude, and you got 2 offensive linemen. The idea is you're going to throw a hook and ladder, so it's a curl to Turpin, and the ball's supposed to be out right now. Dak fucks up. He hesitates. Ball's supposed to go to Turpin. He's supposed to catch it right here, and then as soon as Jimmy Ward bites on him, he's supposed to pitch it back to T.Y. Hilton, who'll have 2 blockers and hopefully a convoy to the end zone. Now, will it work? No, it never does. But it's not actually a badly designed play. You'll see on the tight copy exactly the moment where Dak hesitates, and that's what fucks the whole thing up. Now, I'm not grading this play. It does not matter. This is a throwaway bullshit play. But right here, the ball's supposed to come out. And you can see that he just takes that extra little hitch right there. Just a little late. And that's all it takes to fuck up that play. Unfortunately, that's the underwhelming end of the game. So, let's get to the charts. Here you can see Dak's first half was not good, but his second half was somehow worse. It's weird, though, because his accuracy percentage was about normal for him. It was 71.43, right? The league average is 71.7, and Dak's average is 70.25. Now, I haven't graded all of Dak's games, but I've graded 11 now, right? The only game I'm missing is the wild card and the second half of the Minnesota game, which was a blowout. And by the time I post this, I'll probably have graded the wild card game as well. Dak's negative play rate wasn't that high either. His average is 30% negative plays, 30.15, and the league average is really, really similar, 29.0. Dak Prescott is actually remarkably close to the averages on the whole. His averages and the league's averages are almost identical every year for 3 years now. That being said, his positive play rate was much lower than usual. Typically, he has a positive play on 22% of plays. In this game, only 14.6. The league average positive play rate is 23.9 too, so he's much lower than average there and much lower than even his average, which is low to begin with. Dallas ran a lot of cheap plays, a lot of neutral runs, a lot of checkdowns and routine passes. And again, like I mentioned earlier, routine passes are where Dak is best. He has always had a pretty high neutral or cheap play rate, right? So just checkdowns and screens and quarterback sneaks and little stuff, dinks and dunks and staying ahead of the chains, not trying to do anything too fancy. And again, that's what he's good at. And he did it a lot in this particular game. But when you're going to play such conservative ball, you can't have negative plays that are catastrophic. You can't have plays like that should have been safety at the end of the game. You can't have the 4 interceptable balls, right? The 2 that got picked, the pick 6 that was dropped, and the Fred Warner ball that if Fred Warner had seen the ball, he would have caught. Overall, I don't think that Dak is a great quarterback or a bad quarterback. I think he's an okay quarterback. But in this particular game, he was terrible. And it's almost exclusively because of those turnovers. In order to play football the way that Dak likes to play football, you have to be extremely clean because turnovers and negative plays can ruin a drive. And in this particular game, it's not even that Dak had more negative plays than usual or was less accurate than usual. It's just that the 49ers really made him pay on the bad mistakes, right? Maybe against some teams, against some players, you can be really late and throw a ball that is into coverage against zones on a short curl, and it won't get picked because the linebacker won't react. But against the 49ers, the linebackers reacted and they got their hands on balls. And even though they didn't catch all of them, they caught some of them. So what are you guys' thoughts? I know that film Twitter is going crazy right now defending Dak and saying like, this is nothing, this isn't bad. But, I mean, this game was terrible, and it's not quite what Dak usually does, but what Dak usually does isn't all that great either. I think that an average Dak game certainly wins this game for the Cowboys. Absolutely, right? Typically, he turns in a -2 slugging game, which is like a C-, and this time was an F. If he gives you a C- game, you win, right? His median performance is a C. His average performance is like a C-. His mode is a C. Like, the dude is a C quarterback. He gives you average play on a really, really consistent basis. So in this game, for him to throw an absolute stinker in the biggest game of the year, it's both unfortunate and unexpected. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. And until next time, I'll be grinding film.